This is part 3 in a series I'm calling Politics as Worldview. And again, just to reiterate that the point of that is to see political policies as part of larger views on the world, and that each worldview has an intention to create a certain kind of society, a good society, but they have very different ways of understanding that. So to get at that difference, it's helpful, I think, to think of them as worldviews. In other words, people approach the world in a certain way, and once you do that, it's going to lead you into certain policy decisions. This one other aspect of politics as worldviews is that the way of building a better society is different one to the other. Reinhold Niebuhr once said, when he was comparing Russia and America, he said that in communist states like Russia, there is more equality but less liberty, and in America or in capitalist states, there's more freedom and less equality. And I think that gets at one of the key differences between what we think of as conservative or liberal. On the liberal side, the goal of policy is to create an outcome of equality. So equality is not something; it's not a condition, right, in which other things happen. So you say, well, you know, this is the condition of equality, and it might end up that in that condition people actually live equally. Now, equality is an outcome. It's measurable. You can say people are either equal or not equal. And because of that, policy decisions are drawn up and constructed to create those outcomes. On the conservative side, the idea is liberty or process. In other words, you create policies that protect people to do certain things, to be at liberty to buy and sell and get jobs and whatnot. The idea of that policy making, or that political theory, is that process is more important than outcome. So in other words, I'd rather have a law system that's functioning and consistent and predictable, and the outcomes may not matter. I may not be able to guarantee those, but at least my process is going to be predictable. So the way I do elections, the way I buy and sell and contracts, all that's going to be very predictable. But that's a condition under which you may or may not flourish. The point being that if you try to control an economic system or society and force an outcome, you actually make things worse. Most states that try to force equality on their citizens don't have a good track record, historically speaking. On the other side, you know, those on the left would say, well, process is just another way of giving those who have power more power. I mean, if you're born in a certain place with a certain heritage, or you have certain benefits financially, your parents left you money, then the process is going to defend you quite well. And you say, well, I just want rule of law. Rule of law works well when you're in a position of power. But the problem is the rule of law and process alone don't actually allow for justice across society. So on the liberal side, we don't care about process, right? If we got to overturn a law, or we need to give power to someone that shouldn't have it, doesn't matter. The point is we have to get to this outcome. We have to get to a more equal society. So here comes the real rub between the two of them. From the one side, any threat to the predictable legal patterns, the processes of government, the processes of the economy, the natural laws governing economic exchange, all of that, any threat to that process is a slippery slope, said Friedrich Hayek, directly to tyranny. And so no matter how good the outcome might be, you can promise everyone, oh, you're going to be equal and have everything you want, or at least not be in need. But you can't do that. And the only way you can do that is to have so much power that you're going to have to disrupt rule of law, constitutionalism, the laws of economics and all that. So the one side is terrified. So the conservative side is terrified of anybody taking enough power to create equality. And the other side, the liberal side, is terrified of a stale, right, petrified economic arrangement, social arrangement, that leaves people permanently poor, permanently out, racial minorities or the poor. So it's really hard to get these two worldviews to come together, since one is so protective of process and legal structure, and the other one is so protective of moral outcomes. But then you can see why they pick the policies they choose. So let's take a welfare, for example. Welfare from the conservative side is a way of shortcutting the natural principles of law of economics. So, you know, you got to work hard, make money. All that is required in order to progress in society. Welfare short circuits that. So you don't teach someone how to work hard, how to do the things they need to do. From the liberal side, it doesn't matter. All that process is relevant. The laws and the economic principles are what get us in trouble. Here we have a chance to actually change someone's outcome. And if we give them money, if we give them resources, we can make it equal right now. So a thing like welfare, which most people think is probably a pretty common sense policy, yet from these worldviews is taken opposite. Is exactly opposite how you define them. So that's another way I think in which our political policy decisions are really determined by the worldview we have.